Training camp is just around the corner for the Indianapolis Colts, so let's get to some of your burning hot questions before it kicks off. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you all for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd of HorseshoeHuddle.com. Training camp is just around the corner. We are getting ready for it. I think it kicks off at Tuesday of next week. So the coverage on this channel will be all training camp all the time, giving you all the insight into every single position battle throughout all of camp. But before we kick that off, we called out one last time for questions. We wanted to get your guys' questions before camp, before the season starts, and just, again, your outlook going forward. So big shout out to the Locked On Colts everydayers and the Locked On community here. We got probably around 100 questions on socials across all of our social medias. I have about 15 to 20 in here that I'm trying to get to, but I'm sure I'll answer some of the other questions by default just by me talking for 30 minutes here on this episode. So I have them separated into three categories. We got training camp questions, we have prediction questions, and then hypotheticals for like the future or for this upcoming season type questions as well. But we're going to kick it off with training camp because that is the hot topic that is on everybody's mind right now. And our first one comes from our friend Tipsy Tater Tot, our favorite questioner with that name right there. He asks, what are the best positions to watch in training camp? And I believe the way that he was framing this in his social media post was about like the entertainment value. Like he said that offensive line is kind of tough to watch because of the lack of pads. So yeah, from just an entertainment value, I think just the wide receivers and the corners make the most sense. They're going to be doing the most similar things to what they'd be doing on Sundays, just in terms of route running versus coverage, off of the footwork on both sides to the physicality at the catch point. You can't really take that away from players, even when the pads are off. So I think just from that perspective, I think from the entertainment perspective, it's very fun to watch wide receivers and corners go at it, especially in the one-on-ones. It's not really the most translatable thing to the regular season, but it certainly has its own entertainment value in itself. I know at the Senior Bowl, for instance, that's like the most watched thing down there. And then also when you're looking just at this Colts team, corner versus receiver might be the two best position groups on the roster from top to bottom. I mean, even when we're looking at like the third team out there, it'd be like Ashton Dulin versus Samuel Womack, who Womack was starter for most of last season, and Dulin has been a starter at times in his career. So I think just from top to bottom, from the top matchups of Charvarius Ward versus Michael Pittman Jr. to the near bottom of the roster with like the Womacks and Dulins, I think there's a lot of talent and a lot of entertainment value and just a lot of fun to be had in watching the corners and the wide receivers go at it in training camp this year for the Colts. Our next question comes from our friend Jay Robbins, the Jay Robbins on socials. He asks, who should be the favorite to win the outside cornerback 2 job in nickel sets with a new defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo? So in this hypothetical, we're talking about how Kenny Moore is going to be the slot corner. Charvarius Ward is going to be one of those outside guys. But who is going to be that other outside corner? I have been a longtime proponent on this episode, on this podcast this offseason, talking about Justin Walley and how this new coaching staff just loves his size, loves his physicality, loves his speed, his experience, and how he was handpicked to be this coaching staff's guy compared to a guy like Jalen Jones or compared to a guy like Juju Brents. But I do think Jalen Jones is going to get the first crack at it. Jalen Jones had a really good season last year, even when he was miscast as the number 1 corner in Gus Bradley's defense. I still think he had a really rock solid season, 2 interceptions. I think he also had like 15 pass breakups as well. Didn't allow too many touchdowns. So yeah, I think Jalen Jones is going to be that second outside corner. I certainly think Justin Walley is going to get his snaps on the field. I think Juju Brents has a chance to get on the field as well. But I think it's going to be Jalen Jones, especially early in the season. But we might see like a 2-on, 1-off type split between the two guys, which means, Jalen Jones gets 2 to 3 series, and then Wally will come in for a series, and then Jones will get his 2 to 3, and then Wally will come in. Some coaches around the league do a little bit of that kind of rotation, but we'll see if that's something that the Colts consider. I do know a lot of DBs are going to play a lot of snaps this year with Lou Anarumo. So whoever is that like starter to start the season, I don't think it's going to be like a crazy snap differential with how many corners are going to play in this system this upcoming season. Pat is washed has our next question here. And Pat, I'm feeling that. Me too, buddy. Me too. He said, who wins the quarterback battle? And then part 2, which quarterback starts more games? I think, man, I think as of right now, I'm going to say Daniel Jones wins the quarterback battle, only because, again, when I'm looking at what this coaching staff and what this front office is looking for, they need wins this year. They need wins. They need consistency. And while I don't think either of these quarterbacks are like world beaters, like perfect quarterbacks, I think Jones is a little bit more accurate. I think he's just a little bit more experienced than Richardson. He's going to get the ball into those like short checkdowns and move the offense a little bit better. And honestly, he's going to be out there for all of training camp. Like Richardson, I know they're saying the shoulder is good, but there might be a pitch count early on. Who knows if the shoulder flares up again throughout all of training camp? So I think it's just a safer bet to bet on Daniel Jones at this point, being the starter. Certainly can't rule out Richardson, but their backs are against the wall, and I think they'd go with the veteran over the younger guy in this scenario. But to the part 2 question, who starts more games? Man, that is so up in the air because these two have been so injury prone in their careers. I said it on the podcast the other day. Daniel Jones has missed almost 25% of his career available games where he was projected to start. Anthony Richardson's missed nearly 60% of his career NFL games. So your guess is as good as mine when it comes to that one. I probably say Daniel Jones starts more games, but I could see either scenario. These two guys have missed a lot of time. Speaking of players who have missed a lot of time, though, our next question comes from Yim093_. He asked, what are some things that Juju Brents can do to hold a roster spot other than just stay healthy? And what is the likelihood of Daniel Scott still having a chance to make the roster? Again, speaking of two guys who have had a lot of injuries. I think Juju Brents, it just showed that, one, you could stay healthy, and two, that you provide something unique to the defense. When you really look at what the Colts have in their secondary right now, they have some size, they have some speed, but I don't think they really have like a physical presence who is a consistent tackler. Jalen Jones is not a great tackler. We saw that last year, a lot of high tackles, a lot of misses in the open field. Charvarius Ward is a much better tackler, but again, he's more known for his lockdown ability. So I think a player like Juju Brents can really make a name for himself if he can be a guy who, if a ball is completed in front of him, he is shutting that down right away, getting a quick tackle, maybe forcing a fumble or something like that in there. And then just building from there, building and showing that he can be a guy who can get his arms in passing lanes with his super long reach. For Daniel Scott, I think it's just stay healthy for him, and I think he has a chance. I know that there are a couple guys in front of him, and who knows what his athleticism is going to look like at this point, coming off of ACL and Achilles injuries the last 2 years. But if he even has a semblance of the juice he had a couple years ago, I think he can be a really good special teamer at worst. So I'm not going to say it's a good chance he makes this team, because a 5th-round pick coming off of 2 major injuries like that, it just doesn't seem right for him to still be at a good spot. But look, they've kept him around this long. So, maybe he's a guy that you bet on going into this season. Another question here, and this one was clearly for me, from Finn Dingo. I'm going to remember you for this one, buddy. He said, who wins the kicking competition? He specifically said this question was for me. Honestly, I don't know, man. I don't really care too much, as long as the kicker can just be fine. As long as I never have to speak on the kicker this year, I'll feel perfectly fine. But he did ask me, more importantly, do you think an unproven kicker will cause Shane Steichen to go for it more on 4th down? I do think he is going to have to be at the point where, like last year, I felt like he was deluding himself a lot with, 50-plus yard kicks. He kept throwing Matt Gay out there. And at some point last year, it had to be like, you just got to go for it. Maybe this year he looks at his kicker situation. He's like, you know what? We're not paying Maddox Trio as much money as Matt Gay, so I don't have to kick it here. I can go for it. So yeah, maybe he does get a little bit more aggressive as a result, but again, part of the aggressiveness comes with having a quarterback that he can trust to be aggressive, and who knows if he's going to have that this season. So I think it could lead to him being more aggressive because he doesn't have the highly paid kicker to delude himself with. But again, both these guys they brought in because of their big legs. So it might work the other way where they kick it a little bit more, because there were certainly times last year where they went for it because Matt Gay couldn't make a kick above 50 yards. So yeah, I could go either way there. I'm hoping at least a more aggressiveness, but we shall see with Shane Steichen there. But guys, that's all we have for the training camp questions. Next up, we have some predictions for the season and for players coming up. So let's dive into some of your big time questions for guys like A.D. Mitchell, Tyler Warren, and obviously this quarterback position. We can't stop talking about quarterback. But first, do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Personally, guys, I love Monarch Money because it helps me just have that accountability factor that I lack personally when it comes to spending money. If I can constantly see where I'm throwing my money and what I'm spending it on, then I'm just better at holding myself accountable to not do that the next time that I'm out, the next time I'm getting a craving for fast food, or I'm getting a drink on my break at work or something like that. Monarch Money keeps me in check, and that is honestly the most helpful thing in the world right now. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNFL for half off of your first year. Alrighty, Locked On Colts everydayers, we are back with our burning hot questions prior to training camp. Our next segment here is all about predictions for players, predictions for the team. Let's kick it off with a big team one here. Do you feel the Colts can make the playoffs this year? From Colts_GB. I think that _GB is for Great Britain. So shout out to you if that is for that. If it's for Green Bay, then no shout out. You're taking that back there. But do you feel the Colts can make the playoffs this year? I certainly think they can make the playoffs this year. I mean, we've seen the last 2 years that they were 1 game short with Gardner Minshew. They were like a game and a half short last year with whatever the heck was going on at quarterback last year. They have been able to be good enough to be in the playoff hunt with really, really bad quarterback play the last couple years. I mean, I guess Minshew wasn't really bad quarterback play, but like below average quarterback play the last couple years. So they can just get that with an improved roster around the quarterback. I mean, if you're looking at Charvarius Ward, Cameron Bynum, and all the additions they made, Tyler Warren coming in, this is a team that should be able to compete for a playoff spot. So I certainly think they can make the playoffs. I'm not going to say that they will, but I perfectly think they can make the playoffs this year. They're certainly not in like that bottom tier of like a tanking team that has no chance. Like they certainly can push for a playoff spot. It's just how realistic that push is going to be. I have my doubts with this quarterback room as of right now. We got one from Pacers Enjoyer here asking, outside of Tyler Warren, which rookie do you think makes the biggest impact in year one? I'm actually going to make a weird guess here, a very weird guess. I'm going to say Jalen Travis for this one. And unfortunately, it's because of the injury history of Braden Smith at right tackle. That knee has been an issue for the last couple years. And honestly, Bernhard Raimann hasn't played a full season yet in the NFL either. He's dealt with concussion and a couple other injuries as well. So I think that swing tackle is going to play 6, 7, 8 games. And honestly, if you had to ask me, like, what's more important, a rotational pass rusher or an offensive tackle that's starting 8 games for my team in a year, I'm going to say that offensive tackle starting 8 games, because that can make or break a season for you. So I think Jalen Travis is going to have one of the bigger impacts on the team because a swing tackle is just so valuable to an NFL team. I'm optimistic about Jalen Travis. I think he's going to be a perfectly solid player in the future. Hopefully he can be good enough this year when he gets on the field, and provide some good backup relief for a player like Braden Smith if he has to miss some time. But really good question. A lot of good answers for there. You could go Justin Wally competing for a starting spot, JT Tuimoloau being a sub pass rusher for the team, and then even DJ Giddens with his backup running back this upcoming season. I think any of those guys could really make that impact this year. The Colts rookie class might get a lot of snaps this season. Another question here from JT Boiler asks, who is your dark horse contributor for this year's Colts team? A guy that nobody is talking about right now, but ends up playing a good bit. I'm going to go one on offense and one on defense. I mean, offense, I could just say Jalen Travis again, honestly. I think that's probably another good guess there on offense. I'm trying to think if there's another one on offense I could go with. I mean, AD Mitchell's not much of a dark horse at this point because he was a highly touted draft pick, but I think there is an avenue for him to have a bigger role this upcoming season. So yeah, I'll go with Jalen Travis again on offense, just because of all the things I just said in the last answer. And then for defense, I'm going to go back with that bold prediction I had a couple episodes ago. I'm going to say Joe Bachie at linebacker. Now, I'm not saying Joe Bachie is some stud or some secret superstar that the Colts have in here, but he is a veteran linebacker in a very unproven linebacker room behind Zaire Franklin that has the experience and the connection with Lou Anarumo. And this Lou Anarumo staff has done in the past. They like to play their veterans over younger players. So I think Bachie could get more snaps than what we're expecting this season. I don't know if that's going to be for better or for worse, but I think Bachie is going to be on the field a decent amount this season as long as he makes the team. Again, it's so close with the rest of the guys on the roster behind Zaire Franklin that he could be anywhere from the second snap getter at the position to not making the team. So I'm going to take a shot here and say Joe Bachie, but that could blow up my face here in like 2 weeks if he's cut. So we'll have to follow his progression throughout the post or the preseason here. Another question here from Sweet Lou 760. I believe that's our guy Rick there on socials. He asked, do you think the offseason additions to the secondary and the change in the coaching staff can propel this defense to the top 15? Great question there, because I certainly think that it can propel them to the top 15. And I know I'm using the semantics of all your guys' questions to give myself an out, so I'll be a little bit more direct with this one here. I certainly think they can get into the top 15. I won't go that high for them, though, because of a couple reasons. One, I think the start of the year is going to be a little bit rough for them because it is a big change for a lot of these guys. And then even for some of the guys who it's like not a big change for, like Charvarius Ward has to get some of the rust off early in the season where he was, again, he's coming off a year that wasn't perfect for him. I think it's going to take him a second to get back into his top form. Some other players as well coming off injuries and being relied upon. Justin Wally and JT Tuimoloau are going to be relied upon. It's going to take a minute to get their feet wet. I think that they're going to find their rhythm late in the season, and they'll probably be in like that 15 to 22 range. My only real fear is the pass rush. The pass rush kind of scares me this year with the Colts, because if Leatu Latu doesn't take that big jump, if DeForest Buckner has any regression whatsoever, which could happen at age 30, then I think this pass rush could be in a pretty bad spot this season, regardless of how high of an expectation I have for the secondary. And then we're not even talking about the elephant in the room here, which is this defense is one injury to their defensive tackle room away from being one of the worst run defenses in football. They're one injury to a safety away from being a very stagnant defense next season. So I think there are a lot of things that could go wrong for this defense. But on paper, I love the secondary, love the coaching staff. I think by December, as long as everyone's healthy, this will be a good unit on defense. And I think they'll be in like that 15 to 18-ish range by the end of the season, which would be a massive step up from where they were last year. They were like a bottom 5 defense last year in like every metric. If you can get me into like that 20 range, I'm not going to complain whatsoever. Another question from Fendingo here. I don't know why I'm giving him another question after the kicker question in the first segment, but you're on thin ice, buddy, but we're going to give you this one here. He asked, do you expect Pierce or Ryman to get an extension before the season? Look, the Colts should give Bernhard Ryman an extension before the season. They would be crazy not to, but we'll see there. Alec Pierce, personally, I wouldn't do one, and I don't really expect one either. I think you really got to just see what you have in AD Mitchell for one more full season before you commit to Pierce. Yes, the price tag could go up in Pierce, but for me, I don't think the tag is going to go up that much higher. Like, I don't think Pierce is going to turn into Jamar Chase overnight. I think that he's going to just be what he is, which is, that tier of like Marquez Valdez Scantling type of player, of Gabe Davis type of player. And I think that's what he's going to get on the open market regardless. So Pierce, I don't think you really have to be in a rush to pay him. But Bernhard Raimann, pay him before Rashawn Slater gets his contract, because that price tag is going to go up quite a bit. One more quick one here before the segment gets out, because I thought it was a really fun one. Nathan of Note, really clever name there. Really awesome name, Nathan of Note. If you had to power rank your level of interest for each season since covering the team, where does this season rank? Oh, I love this question. So 2018 was when I first started covering the Colts, and that would easily be number one in terms of interest, only because new coach, new GM, relatively new GM, Andrew Luck at quarterback. I really was so intrigued by everything going on with the Colts. Also, I was just giddy for my first chance to cover a team. So easily number one there. 2019 would be number two as well, if depending on what day we're counting. If we're saying from this point in 2019, 2019 would probably be number one, actually, because Andrew Luck with a better roster. But right before the season, it's probably like the least excited because of the retirement of Andrew Luck. But to answer the question fully, I go 2018 was the most excited. Then 2020 was the second most excited because I really believed in Phillip Rivers. Then I would say third most excited was last season. Going into last season, because there was so much hope and optimism with Anthony Richardson and Shane Steichen. It didn't really pan out, but I was very excited for that one. Then I would say the rookie year for Anthony Richardson in 2023. Then 2022, I was more optimistic for the Matt Ryan season than I was the Carson Wentz season, which kind of blew up in my face a little bit there. Then the Carson Wentz season of 2021, and then 2019 at the very bottom, if we're counting post Andrew Luck retirement. Really intriguing question there, though, but that's kind of how it... Oh, sorry, I didn't even rank this upcoming season. This upcoming season would be right above 2019, but probably right below the Carson Wentz season, because this is probably the worst I felt about the quarterback room in an off season since since I learned that Jacoby Brissett was going to start a full season in 2019. So a lot of it really comes down to how I felt about the quarterbacks going into the year, and that's kind of where I'm feeling right now about this quarterback room. But coming up, guys, we got one more segment of questions. We were diving into the hypotheticals, either hypotheticals for this upcoming season or hypotheticals for post this upcoming season, and a lot of those are a little bit negative, but post this upcoming season. Alrighty, Locked On Colts Everydayers, we are back diving into more of your questions. I told you I'm going to be hitting a lot of them. I think I've hit like 14 so far, so I think I'm on a good pace. Let's keep this thing rolling here. First hypothetical we have here is from 2701_Luke. He asks, can the defense propel this team into the playoffs with even subpar quarterback play? I think they can, for sure. I know I'm taking that can out quite a bit, but yeah, they certainly can. If this defense can get into that 15 to 20 range, last year the Colts, again, were like a 1.5 game away from making the playoffs with really bad defense and subpar quarterback play. So if you give me average defense and subpar quarterback play, that might be enough to get this team into the playoffs. Now, can it get them to a division win? Probably not. So like winning the division, probably not. But can it get them like a 9-8 or a 10-7 playoff spot? Absolutely. I certainly think it can. But the real question is, one, can the defense get to that 15 to 20 range? I think it certainly can, but it's not set in stone. Again, they're one injury away from being a bottom 5 defense again this upcoming season. And then the bigger onus here is, can they even get subpar quarterback play? Like I would take subpar quarterback play this upcoming season. I just don't know if they're going to get that from the Colts quarterback. So yeah, I certainly think there's an avenue for them to make the playoffs with the defense leading the way, but there's a lot of things that need to go right for that to happen, like there is for any team to make the playoffs. So certainly could happen, but not something I would really bet on going into the season. Next question here is, if Anthony Richardson plays bad or gets hurt this season, or essentially we find out that Richardson is not the answer this upcoming season. Will the Colts move on from him next offseason? I don't know if they would officially move on. Like if they would trade him, they would still have the 1-ish years left on his rookie contract. I say 1-ish because there still is the 5th-year option. You probably wouldn't pick that up, but again, it's still an avenue that the team would have. But they would have the 1+ years of team control still, so they might just keep him around as a backup if they decide to move on from him as like not the starter anymore. But all things to really come down to like if they fire everybody in the front office and fire the coaching staff and a new guy comes in, then they might just sell Richardson for pennies on the dollar, get some more draft picks, and go from there. So yeah, I would say if he is bad or gets hurt again this year, the Colts might move on from him mentally more so than physically. Like it just might be the end of them trusting in him to be a starter for them, because then it would just be 3 years in a row of poor play and or injuries. And the NFL is called the not for long league for a reason. You don't get to keep your job for that much longer if you keep putting up the same stat lines and injuries that he's had. So yeah, I certainly think this is the biggest year for him in terms of just establishing himself as a realistic quarterback option for the Colts. If it all goes awry again this year, I don't think he will be in the mix to start for the Colts again next season. He would have to be like a superstar in 5 games, and and then he gets hurt for the Colts to consider starting him again next year, even after injury. But yeah, I think this is really kind of like his last chance with the Colts, because I think it's the last chance for a lot of people with the Colts this season. So he really needs to get it right this year, or the Colts will have a different quarterback. And I don't even think he'll be in the conversation next year if he gets hurt or the play is looking like it did for most of last season. Next question here is from Casey with an A. If it all comes crashing down this year, who are the players that you think the next GM would keep around after cleaning house? So if you actually look at this Colts roster, pretty much all the guaranteed money comes off the books after this season. I think DeForest Buckner is the only player with guaranteed money post 2026 on the roster. So a new GM could come in here and basically clean out the entire house. They could get rid of every veteran player, because every veteran player is either going to hit free agency or has no guaranteed money. You can cut them or trade them with very little dead cap coming back your way. So then I don't even know who they would keep, because like if you really want to tear this thing down and start over, even a player like Buckner who still has some guaranteed money left on his contract, I mean, do you want a 31-year-old DeForest Buckner being part of a rebuild? I don't even think he would want that, And then you get to other players like your Grover Stewart, your Kenny Moores, your Jonathan Taylors, Quentin Nelson, Michael Pittman Jr. Like, yeah, they might be a little bit younger and be more willing to be a part of a rebuild, but all their guaranteed money is coming off the books. And if you really want to tear this thing down and start over, you're going to want that salary cap relief and that ability to start over. So yeah, I think a lot of it would just be guys who are on rookie contracts would be coming back. Like you're not going to move off of rookie contracts because they're just cheap money, like not cheap money, cheap players that you want to keep with your organization and keep developing. So for better or worse, you can either move on from them after their contracts, or you can just have them on surplus deals early on. But I think most of the veterans would be gone. Maybe Quentin Nelson would be the one that you really prioritize to bring back, just because he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. He is a very good guard, and no matter what you do at the quarterback position, you need offensive linemen that can block for him. So I think Quentin Nelson might be the one you keep. Bernhard Raimann, you give him that extension because, again, good tackles don't grow on trees. But aside from that, every non-rookie contract player, I think, could be on their way out if the Colts end up cleaning house in the front office and coaching staff, because the way the roster is built, there is that avenue to completely clean it all out after this year. So just something to keep in mind going into the season. If the Colts, lose like 5 games in a row, we can all think about, well, this might be the last time we see any of these players, any of these veteran players, because all their contracts are basically up or have big outs after the season. Last hypothetical here before we get out of here for the day. What if A.D. Mitchell breaks out? What would it mean to the receiver room and the team in general? Well, it would mean some great things personally. It would mean that the Colts can, have a cheaper, effective wide receiver on a rookie contract. would mean great things for the future, for the present, makes the Alec Pierce decision easier next offseason. And again, it's just what you drafted the guy to be. That receiver that can break out and be an effective player. So, I mean, I think in the receiver room, I don't know if it changes much this year. So, like, it depends what we really call like a breakout. Like, if his breakout is like a 400-yard season, but really effective on his targets and looks really good, and it helps you make that decision on Alec Pierce, then yeah, I mean, he's your starter next season, your starter for maybe the foreseeable future. In terms of this upcoming season, again, it would really have to be just Mitchell taking that step into stardom to take over one of these starters, or an injury occurs and then he steps into the starting lineup. But I mean, for the present, maybe it doesn't mean too much, but it means everything for the future. Because again, this team might be in tear it down mode after the year. And if you can have a 22-year-old wide receiver breaking out and being on that rookie contract for 2 more seasons, that would mean everything for a rebuild, especially if you end up moving on from Pierce and Pittman after the season. So, yeah, A.D. Mitchell breaking out would be a fantastic thing for this Colts team. It would be everything you're looking for this season, aside from a quarterback breaking out. But that is all we have for today, guys. Again, thank you so much for all the questions. I wish I could have done more with all of them. I did rapid fire here to get just enough in the 30 minutes that I've been recording. But again, thank you all so much for the interaction and for the questions. I do want to remind you guys that the Locked On NFL Top 100 is here, voted on by the NFL hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our Top 100 was formed by the experts that cover these teams and players every day. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And if you guys want to come on Locked On Colts Insider and chat with us directly and get that insider scoop, follow the link in our show notes. And if you don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks2, all on Twitter. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube wherever you listen to your podcast. We love your guys' ratings, reviews, and we'll be back here next week for training camp.